So, Frederick, I will let you in. So, welcome, Frederick. So pleased you're here with us tonight. And, please, I'll hand it over to you, Frederick. So, we look forward to this evening.
Yes, good night, everybody. You can hear me loud and clear? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm first going to share I will first give a little introduction. So there were a number of questions asked for a topic for this evening's presentation. And I have taken a few of them and worked it out in a very practical way and spicing it up with a few hints and some examples. So we'll work through mainly 3 or 4 main ideas that I would like to explain to you and explain in the way I practice, in fact. And then in the second part, I will also present a case with the story and the follow-up and the way that the remedy has been found, etc., etc. Okay? Also, I would like to say if I speak too fast or I act too fast, especially clicking here and there, please write down in the chat you like to see a repeat of whatever or an explanation of whatever. Birgitta will tell me because normally I do the things while I speak, but Birgitta asked me, can you go a little slower so people can understand what you're doing and how you're doing things? I'll try to find a balance there, not becoming like the tortoise, but anyway, fast enough to have your attention.
Can I just butt in there? So if you have any questions during the webinar, please write them down in the chat box and then we'll work them through later on. Yeah. Sorry.
So this being said, I will now try and share my screen.
Yes.
Tell me if you see my screen.
Yes.
Can you say it because I don't see you?
Yes, I can see the whole screen, Frederick.
Yeah, so if you can speak when you have a remark, because I don't read the chat, I will just focus on my screen.
Okay.
And so the whole idea of my presentation is, in fact, to speak about practice and to be aware that different people practice in a different way. And of course, you can say that this is totally normal. Yes, I agree. And you will practice more and more your own way as you proceed, as we all proceed through the years and listen and read and homeopathic literature, cases, explanations, examples, etc., teachings, etc. Or a teacher may say, would you like to do it my way? Because this is what I teach. And then if you do this, you will be successful in this way. Or if you do it like this, you will be successful in that way. So we have this search for our own way to practice and then listening to other people are doing it. And I thought to clarify my angle, I will start with 2 little stories. A minute. Voilà. And the first story is a story when I think 95 or so, 1995, when I was contacted by some people responsible for the school in England, some schools in England, and they told me, Jeremy Sher is doing more and more provings. We really don't like them. And if you include them in the next version of synthesis, well, no more synthesis in our school. Synthesis is the repertory of choice, the repertory we use in our school, but no more if you include the provings of Jeremy Sher. I said, okay. And almost the same time, some other principals contacted me and told me, listen, Jeremy Sher is doing provings. We believe they are very important. He's doing them very thoroughly. And really, we need to use them. We want to use them. And to use them, we must have the additions of these different remedies in synthesis. So if you don't include these additions of Jeremy in synthesis, we will not have synthesis as the repertory of choice in our school. So this is not a joke, this is reality. So therefore, the title is Divergence of Opinion. What one hates, the other likes, and vice versa. And we had a difficult problem because this was a time we were also preparing to print a synthesis. And we didn't know what shall we do, because in the software we find solutions, maybe, but printed black on white, either you print them or you don't print them, you see? And so then with synthesis 8, we came up with the idea of repertory views. We are still the only software that is putting so much emphasis on this idea of repertory views. And I really would like to explain a little bit more about this in the next few minutes, about the repertory views and how it can relate to your practice and be relevant. But first, I will tell another story. Some of you may know that I have accompanied George Vitulkas for a number of years while he was giving seminars throughout Europe and in North America, Canada, United States. And the scenario, the setup was that even from the very beginning, I was taking the symptoms, putting them in the computer. George was looking at the screen every now and then as we proceed. And when he was happy with a remedy that came up, we stopped the analysis, we stopped the interrogation, he gives the analysis, the explanation, etc. And the case is prescribed upon. And in those 14 years we traveled together, every seminar he gave. A number of times, carcinosinum came up. And invariably, George would say, no, not carcinosinum. Take some more symptoms, put some more symptoms, change the degree of some symptoms, etc. to get another idea, another remedy. George never wanted to prescribe carcinosinum, okay? And you know, carcinosinum was introduced by Donald Fubister in England in the 60s, so like an old remedy almost, recent, but with some experience, etc., etc. But George never liked it. And then came another episode, is that like a year ago, George contacted me and wanted me to run some 26, in fact, test cases. And so he gave me the symptoms of some cases and then said, now you have to repertorize them in such a way that this remedy comes first in every case. You understand? So I got a test case. It had to be, the remedy had to be what he wanted it to be. And I was surprised because one of those cases was a carcinosinum case. So after 20 years, George changed his mind. So there is a divergence of opinion. Can you prescribe this carcinosinum? George in the beginning said, no, 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 no. Finally, he changed his mind and he does prescribe carcinosinum. And we may have people among us, teachers, other homeopaths who say, no, I don't prescribe this remedy. I don't trust this remedy. And someone else says, I will try it. You see? So divergence of opinion is on many levels. And nevertheless, I believe that if it is about prescribing a remedy or not, using a remedy or not, there are only two criteria. Does this remedy have proving symptoms? Do we have maybe more than one proving? Are these symptoms confirmed, repeated, verified, etc.? And in the end, is it documented that this remedy has cured the patient? Do we have cured cases? And if we have these criteria for any remedy, my opinion is that we should consider this remedy because it may help cure a case which was not cured before. Okay? And of course, then as time goes on and different people start using carcinosinum, it's in this example, people will say, yes, we can repeat the cure, etc., etc. Okay? So what I want to say is there may be divergence of opinion, but there are also facts, you see. If a case has been cured by carcinosinum, these are facts, and we should not ignore those remedies. Is this like new? Well, yeah, I want to make the point today in 2022, but our old man in paragraph 257 has in fact been saying the same. Okay? He wrote in that paragraph, avoid making favorite remedies. Okay? Homeopathic practice for me is not those 60 polycrests with 100 small remedies and maybe even more, and that's it. As any science, and I do believe we should say homeopathy is a science because it is based on repeatable facts. In any science, knowledge evolves, which means new remedies do appear, and we should look at them. In the second part of this paragraph, Hahnemann says that some remedies of rarer use, smaller remedies, may be neglected, but they might have been of more service. Do you read the sentence? So this idea that our knowledge base, to say it in a contemporary word, is evolving is not a new idea. It's the old man's idea in paragraph 257. Nevertheless, I accept that some people say, well, I like to work with certain authors or certain remedies, or I dislike to work with certain authors or remedies. And this is where the whole idea of the repertory views comes in. And I will explain this a little bit with a case of sinusitis, where I have taken these symptoms, pain below the eyes, then worse from the wet weather, the local symptom, general symptom, headache from exertion of the eyes. This lady is someone who has a shop of jewelry, so she is using a magnifying glass all the time, looking at the jewels, okay? So this increases the complaints. She has a throat pain worse from talking, and mucus that is tenacious. And then as a general, there is a desire for spices. Now, I'm not going into the details of why to take those symptoms, etc. I just want to work on the analysis of this. And I will now switch to radar opus. Let's see if that works. Yes, here.
Yes. Perfect.
And you see the same symptoms. You see them, the same 7 symptoms, and they were taken in Synthesis Adonis, our current new version of Synthesis, the successor of Synthesis Treasure Edition 12 years ago. So this is the next step. And so these are, I believe we can say, very regular symptoms. And if we analyze them, then we see argentum nitricum comes up, phosphorus, pulsatilla, dulcamara, macfossilica, etc. A few more remedies, you can read them, okay? Now, what do I want to say? The repertorization is a step in the whole prescribing procedure, and not the last step. It is the step where a remedy is suggested, and then you verify or you remember the characteristics of, for example, argentum nitricum, whether this is the remedy to prescribe, or you differentiate. Now, imagine this patient came what is it, 150 years ago to Kent's place, and Kent was using his repertory. Well, you can see here that we have the views. This is a list, I will explain a little later, which has, among others, Kent's repertory as a view. This means you can use synthesis, also synthesis Adonis, as a Kent. And look, it just takes one click here on Kent repertory, and the repertorization changes. Argentum nitricum is downgraded, if now 5th position, and silica is the 1st position with very strong characteristics of this patient. And you see all 2nd and 3rd degree for most of the symptoms. So most probably, if this patient had come 150 years ago to visit Kent, I think sinusitis, you might agree, if it fits the other characteristics of the patient, Kent may have given silica. Now, this patient, myself, I have prescribed Argentum nitricum. And why? Because I believe that the features that were pertaining to this patient were more favoring Argentum nitricum than silica. So this is a differential diagnosis. And you see how the repertorization now becomes like something you can almost play with. Look, you have now the Kent view, which says silica, okay? Silica, Argentum nitricum, calcarea, sulfur are still there. But if I now would say, well, Kent's repertory is, what shall I say, static, unchanged since about a century, let's use a little more. But let's remain what we call conservative. This is then the quantum view, quantum view between brackets, conservative. This means that every rubric has a few more authors and remedies, and consequently, some of your repertorizations will show a different result. So I'm going now to switch from Kent's repertory to an enhanced Kent's repertory with more current sources, but still classical sources, quantum view. And you see in the quantum view, which is written here, already Argentum nitricum appears because spices is already there as well. You see? Now, let me explain a little bit more the logic of these views. We have 21 views. The whole explanation of the views, you can find it here at the bottom. You see information about the views. If you click on this little entry, then a window will open and show you all the information of the views that I will explain you very briefly now. So here at the first box, we have the views with progressive or conservative, let's say, quality of information. How reliable are the additions that you use? And it goes all the way down to Kent's repertory, even if I can tell you that we have corrected hundreds of mistakes in Kent's repertory. So the Kent repertory in synthesis is much better than the Kent repertory printed 100 years ago. But basically, this is about conservative and progressive information, these views, okay? Then the second box here starts from Kent, and instead of shrinking down, increases again. And this means if you select this view, pioneers, until Hahnemann, you see much less authors because they only contain the sources that are published until the death of Hahnemann, 1843. Okay, so the old guys, Stapf, etc. The classics, again, is more people, and you see how phosphorus comes up, and then in the end, up to Schmidt, which is of course more recent. Everything published until Pierre Schmidt, 1985, the death of Pierre Schmidt. And again, you see the Argentum nitricum and the Silicea even there in close position, so to draw your attention. Then we have a few more views here about remedies and families and provings and clinical. I will explain you later. And then we have the views, among others, the view with the authors, the mix selected or chosen by George Vitulkas. And if we choose this one, Vitulkas view, you see it here? Again, we see Argentum nitricum coming up first, okay? So it's a way to, you can start conservative, yes, okay. And you can, as Ken did 100 years ago for this patient, you can prescribe Silicea for this patient with sinusitis, for sure. But if that patient comes back, it is just a mouse click away to enlarge your possibilities a bit. And then you say, oh, but Argentum nitricum comes there. So maybe this is an interesting remedy as well, and you investigate, okay? So do you see this idea of how from Ken's repertory, which is the minimum, I would say, we can scale up and present, include more remedies and authors until we get into the full synthesis, and how this can be a way to prescribe when a more limited view doesn't help. Now, the next point, because I want to be practical, is of course, whenever you look, even in Ken's analysis, and the analysis with the Kentian view, you may say, well, I doubt between Argentum nitricum and Silicea. And then, of course, you can have different ways to differentiate, and I will highlight only two. An easy one and a fancy one. The easy one is that you can just click on Argentum nitricum here, and you see the keynotes, and you can remember yourself, like desire, sweet, salt, strong cheese, ice cream, cold drinks, aggravation from sweets. You see, food and drinks of Argentum nitricum, we know, has very strong symptoms. And on the other hand, if we go to silica and we click just on this remedy and we go to food, you see eggs, fat, ice cream, but milk is all over the place with silica. You see, the aversion to milk, aggravation from milk, mother's milk, etc., fat even, okay, fatty milk, you see. And so you see immediately this patient, oh, we know the generals, we know the food modalities, goes in the direction of silica or goes in the direction of Argentum nitricum. So this is an easy way, whenever you see a remedy appear in the analysis, click on it, you have the keynotes, refresh your memory and decide. Sometimes, and we must address these possibilities, it is not so easy to decide, and even reading through some keynotes, there is some argument for silica, some argument for Argentum nitricum. You see what I mean? And in such a case, we have another interesting feature, which is what we call the differential extraction, the comparative extraction. So I click here on search. You saw me clicking on search here. And in this section, I can enter words, but also remedies. And when I enter as a remedy, first Argentum nitricum, okay. Then as a second remedy, I enter Silicea, Silicea terra, in fact, it's the official name. Then I can extract in the current document, which is synthesis, all symptoms of Argentum nitricum and Silicea. Okay? Just a minute, I'm going to put it back to full here. Voila. And here they are. Okay? Not totally helpful. What is more helpful, in fact, is if we click here on this little icon and we ask for the remedies which they have in common and exclusive, the last option. We make separate listings. Instead of one listing with symptoms of either Silicea, Argentum nitricum, separate both together, etc. No, we want to differentiate, okay? We want to differentiate, and we do it by selecting this option. And if we click the search icon one more time, you will see here appearing a tab and a tab and a tab. So suddenly we have 3 lists. And the first list is the list with the remedies that are Argentum nitricum and Silicea. You see, both remedies are there. Both are absent-minded, etc. Both have anticipation. You remember, both have fearful, frightful, emotional remedies. You see it here from the extraction, okay? So there is, in fact, yes, it's true. Argentum nitricum, Silicea, someone may say, oh, very different. Well, it may appear at first sight to be similar. And you see 2,300 common symptoms, okay? Well, that doesn't help to differentiate, but what does help to differentiate is just to click on this other tab here, which says Argentum nitricum without silica, okay? And there you see ailments from abuse for Argentum nitricum, death, ordeals, etc., etc. When we do here, go to the other tab, we see the opposite list, which is silica. You see silica all over, here and there, everywhere, without Argentum nitricum, okay? And now we have really listings that differentiate the 2 remedies. Even more helpful, because don't forget, we're speaking about a precise case of a lady where the chief complaint is a sinusitis. A sinusitis that has been lingering on for a few months. She has had it every now and then, and every time she has it, it stays like for 2-3 months, and she would like to get rid of it, okay? So what do is that we can, in this box number 4 is written, case, chapter, etc. We can limit this extraction, this differentiation to a chapter, to the chapter phase, which is the main chapter for sinus problems in the repertory, okay? All chapters means, some chapters in Somateria Medica, they say face and forehead or whatever. So face is all the chapters. Anyway, this is the best choice. You choose face in all the ways it is presented. It wouldn't make a difference for your search and synthesis, but it does make a difference if you would search in other books as well. And then we do just the same. Do you see the setup is Argentum nitricum silica and face? And we search again, and you will see again 3 tabs are loaded. The first tab here are the common symptoms, Argentum nitricum and silica. Here they are, okay? Discoloration, blue lips, for example, or pale, or even red during the headache. So some of these colors are common to both silica and Argentum nitricum. However, when we go here, let's check. Yeah, we see this is the Argentum nitricum. So this is dirty looking, dark gray, lead colored, sallow. You see, this is all a little bit in the same direction. We have certain eruptions there. We have pain mostly on the left side for Argentum nitricum. Nerve pain, you see, it's a 2nd degree for nerve pain, Burica, Oscar repertory. And if we go to silica, we find abscesses, you see, 3rd and 2nd degree. So sinusitis with an abscess. Interesting. Silica is more important. Again, we have some cancer symptoms. Complaints of face doesn't help a lot. Discoloration is more pale in general, pale and red, not this gray, livid, dark, etc. Argentum nitricum. And if we scroll through to the pain section, face pain, just a little further, you will see here, where am I? Yes, here is it. Draft of air and open air both aggravate. Silica in general also, draft aggravate, much stronger than argentum nitricum. So this is a differential, a precise differential that may be relevant for the sinusitis person. Are you sensitive to drafts? What happens when you're in a car with the window open? And cold applications aggravate, cold exposure, cold washing, cold wet places, and the heat of stove ameliorates. So silica is very sensitive to cold, aggravated from cold. And now we say, I'm just reasoning as you can be reasoning, okay? Going back to argentum nitricum, and we look again and we check, is there anything here about in pain and cold? No, there is just oh, cold air amel. You see, comes from Fatak. Cold air amel we see. So if we look, what is happening when the argentum nitricum patient goes into the cold air amel. And in the pain sections, there isn't such a symptom, but of course, this is a striking difference. Cold, heat, silica very strong, argentum nitricum not, even cold air amel. And in this way, you can differentiate any two remedies. You can, of course, call your friend, your teacher, whomever, and say, what is the difference between argentum nitricum and silica in a sinusitis patient? But you would need to ask for hundreds of remedies, thousands of questions, and they're all here. Either just the keynotes, the easy way, click, click, you read, you decide. If it's easy, you can decide in a few minutes. And if it's more complicated, you can trim down your search, your comparison in a very precise way with the comparative extraction, okay? So that's what I wanted to explain to you about differentiating remedies between them, all right? Yeah, I've told all that. Ah, yes, yes. And there is one other thing that I like to mention, because for many people, it's like an eye-opener. When you have a patient in front of you, and I'll take the example of pulsatilla, and then you go to the materia medica, and you say, well, is my patient pulsatilla? That's the question, okay? To be pulsatilla or not to be pulsatilla. And in the materia medica, it is written, pulsatilla is weeping easily. And you check, and your patient is indeed weeping often. Well, then the probability for pulsatilla becomes higher. We should think about probability, not about yes or no. And the probability increases, decreases. This is the whole logic of the VES also. And it's the probability increases, decreases as more symptoms are added. This is the way we should reason when we verify and differentiate remedies, probability. The other possibility is that the materia medica for pulsatilla says this patient normally is worse from fat, cannot tolerate fat, cannot eat fat, gets a headache from fat, gets a nausea from fat, gets diarrhea from fat, cannot eat fat. And you go to your patient and you see the patient desires fat and maybe even feels better from eating fat. So this case means that the probability for pulsatilla is lower. I take the example of pulsatilla because maybe you know the features of this remedy very well, so it's easy for you to understand the relevance of weeping and worse from fat. And then you read in the materia medica, the other feature that the cold application is improving the complaints. So you ask the patient or you verify the notes, And the patient doesn't speak about cold applications. And you ask, your headache, is it better when you put like your cold hand or a cold cloth or whatever on your head? And the patient, no, I never thought of doing it. Well, this is the critical thing. If this is not applicable in the patient, the probability is not higher or lower. It doesn't change. An absent criterion in materia medica doesn't change the probability of the remedy for the patient. I have summarized it here again. In the materia medica, you may have X, Y, Z, 3 different symptoms. If the symptom is the same as in the patient, the probability is higher. If the symptom is opposite, really opposite, okay, agraf, amel, desire, aversion, weeping, pleasant, whatever, opposite, then the probability is lower. Nevertheless, the most important line is if the information, the criterion, the symptom in the materia medica is absent in the patient, doesn't change the probability. And this is a mistake many people make. They say, do you have this and this and this and this and this? And the patient says, no, 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 no. And they think the remedy is not useful, cannot be correct. No, no. This will very often be the case. Why? Especially with the bigger remedies, they have not hundreds but thousands of symptoms. So if you start to run through a checklist to verify the remedy, many times only a few of those features of your checklist will appear in the patient and can be used to decide in favor or against the remedy, whether they're same or opposite as in the patient. Okay, so this is for me really a key idea to differentiate in a very quick and in a very efficient way, is to have those 3 ideas, same, opposite, absent, very clear in your mind. Okay. So any questions so far?
No.
Okay, then I move on. And I take another issue that maybe came up a little bit already in what I was saying before. And that is that some people may be overwhelmed because there are too many remedies, because there are too many new remedies, maybe. And this may be because you are starting in a homeopathic practice and you've been trying to memorize bits of materia medica of a number of remedies, and still so many more remedies are existing. Or this may be because you are a shall I say, more advanced homeopath, and now Adonis comes again with some new remedies. And so the question is, what about these many new remedies? First of all, I would like to investigate with you whether it is a fact. And here is a little table which presents the different versions of synthesis and compares them quickly. In the Treasure edition, the previous version of synthesis, we had 2,375 remedies described. Some of them only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symptoms. But anyway, more than 2,000 remedies have been described in the Treasure edition. For schools, and it was a demand of specific schools, we have reduced that number by 400 more or less, and printed the so-called essential synthesis, which contains less than 2,000 remedies, 400 remedies less. Far enough, because you may know that Kent's repertory contains 694. And so that's even more than double of what Kent was having at his time. An essential synthesis with those 1,990 remedies has sure covered the need of many, because it is the printed repertory in many schools still today. But we have gone on from the Treasure edition in 2009 to Adonis, released this year. And now we have 800 remedies more. Yes, 800 remedies more as compared to the Treasure edition. So yes, it's true. Adonis comes with a lot of new information. And in general, when we speak about additions, also cross-references, outer catalogs, etc., you may say that if we take the treasure edition, the repertory you probably know the best, at least some of you, we consider that 100%, then 20% less you get essential synthesis, 25% more you get to Adonis. This is the idea of the quantity, okay? Now, this is the introduction, back to practice. And I take the rubric Desire Salad. So I go here to the repertory, salads, desire, and I see 25 remedies, okay. 25 remedies in Adonis. And maybe your first question will be, well, what are the new remedies here? Well, there is an easy way to know this. You take the symptom, you see? You take the symptom, I drag the symptom into the symptom clipboard, and then you open the treasure edition, okay? Now we are looking at the treasure edition. You see the word treasure here, okay? Looks pretty much the same in the beginning, but it's the other synthesis version. And I go to the same rubric, Desire Salad. And again, I take this symptom into the clipboard by dragging it. So I have two symptoms in the clipboard. And in fact, these symptoms are, wait a minute. These symptoms are, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I must hear full repertory. Yeah. So, and then I see here the common remedies, you see? And what is striking to me here is that elapse is in the second degree. And now look what I do. I go back, let me move myself a little bit out of the way. I go back to Adonis, okay? And if I select the view here of Ken's repertory, you see, for the rubric Desire Salad, I see that elapse was the only remedy in Ken's repertory. You see? So how you can follow the evolution of the rubric. Elapse was there since the beginning. And if we go again to the full view, it's still one of the strong remedies when Desire Salad is strong. But more and more remedies have been added. And then you can again play with the views, like with the quantum view, diminishes it to 9 remedies, you see? So you can play around with the views in different ways. You take up to Schmidt, it's 5 remedies only even. And so you can decide whether you want to see more or less information for these patients. However, and this is where I believe everybody will end up some stage, is you may become curious at some stage. And you see, for example, this uran met, even if it's a new remedy, you may know uranium metallicum, you understand possibly this remedy, okay. But then you see Pas-D, Passer domesticus, okay. So if you have no need, if your patient was cured by elapse, by medorinum, by magnesium muriaticum, whatever, no worries, okay? But if you are stuck and you want to know more about this Pas-D, well, again, there is a very easy way to not remain with the favorite remedies, but open up your mind to another possibility, and is to investigate what is Pas-D. And now I hear someone roaring in their mind to say, yeah, what the hell is Pas-D? So if you want to know about Pas-D, it's mostly about the quality of the information, correct? You don't just want to prescribe PAS-D because it's in a rubric. You want to know the quality of the information. And our program is, I believe, very strong in offering information, because look, if I hit my space bar, I see, wait, here, desire salad. Let me bring it to the, here. Yeah, desire salad. The PAS-D is NL5, you see, it's Norland Misha, okay? But there is an even more interesting way. So all remedies are referenced, like in classical bibliography, if needed, with more than one author. Confirm the aggravation from salads in Bryonia, okay? But the other thing, which I believe to be interesting, is that there is a very easy way to know all about Passer domesticus. And that is just right-clicking here, and you get a search menu. You see that? Search for this remedy in. Are you reading this? And you can, of course, say current document only, which then would show you the extraction I've shown before. So I will not show you again. But you can also say all documents. This means look for this remedy in all the documents I have in my Radar Opus. And remember that Radar Opus is not just a repertory program. Radar Opus is repertory and references or materia medica program, okay? And if you search everywhere. Some people say, oh, Radar Opus search is slower than another program. Yeah, but don't forget, instead of looking in your little library, you search the whole city, you see? So we search, in fact, 90 repertories and 2,000 volumes of materia medica, if you say search in all documents, and then Radar Opus becomes much faster than anyone else. So here is the table of contents, as in a web page, the table of contents of the literature where you will know more about Passer domesticus. For example, Philippe de Grote, in his dream repertory, has put a number of dreams that are typical for Passer domesticus, okay? You see here that the remedy is very well represented in Synthesis Adonis, 1,700 occurrences, okay? It is present in the family repertories, of course. Frans Vermeulen has made a summary in his Source and Substance, a fantastic book where he describes in detail the substance itself, the source of the remedy. So very interesting, okay? And then we see here that for this remedy, as for many other remedies, the proving is existing, the proven by Misha Norland, you see? And you can just click here and you can start reading the proving. Passer domesticus is the sparrow. Sparrow is this little bird, okay? And they begin explaining the whole situation. They explain you why they have done the proving, which may be anecdotal, etc. But anyway, you know all about here, and even here, and this is the interesting part, the pharmacy. The remedy was prepared from a tincture, you see, and it was run up to 30C, Korsakov, you see, Helios, then made it up to 1M. So you have the precise information, and you can say, yes, okay. And how was the proving done? Well, at the time of the day, and the days were numbered, etc., etc. So I'm sorry, this is a Hahnemannian proving, okay? It is a classical preparation of a remedy, and I agree. Maybe some people, and including myself, sometimes they have doubts about certain preparations of remedies. But if you come to this idea in this rubric of desire salad, that Passer domesticus may be the remedy for your patient, well, know that the exact information to decide whether this is a relevant remedy is right there. The preparation, the way the proving was done, the precise journals of the provers, the classification of the symptoms, etc., etc. Okay, so it's all there just in one place. This is our Our whole concept of Radio Opus is like to be a sweet, S-U-I-T-E, sweet, sweet. You can say sweet like a sugar, but sweet like a, or shall I say, a few items to bundle together, a bundle. And even more interesting, look here, clinical cases is a section in the table of contents. And there is here Vervarke Ann, who has a case of a male person born in 2005, etc., intake, etc. And you have a whole history and you can read through the case and know how the Passer domesticus case presents itself, okay? So I can say from my side, we are very active on including provings into our program. And by that, I mean not only additions in the repertory, but also materia medica. And materia medica with precise information, including the way the remedy is prepared and the remedy is proved. And so I hope that it's helpful to know that we have made this offer, especially if you come across new remedies and you then have to decide indeed whether you will try another time sulfur silica sepia or maybe Passer domesticus, okay? Any questions or I move on?
No questions.
Okay, you're very silent. I'm not going too fast, Birgitta?
I don't think so. And please let us know in the chat box if there are questions as we go along. Yeah.
Now, the next point I would like to explain is in different ways to practice is different ways to find the symptom. And why is this important? Because when the patient is speaking and listening, this is in a way almost easy. There is, of course, the specific interrogation technique of homeopaths, which I believe is in the first place non-directive. But then the first big effort is to go from the language of the patient to the language of the repertory. And so one person does it like this, another does it like that, but be aware that in Kent's repertory, there are 4 ways already where you are helped to find a symptom. First, it is Kent created synonyms. So he says, don't put remedies at abandoned. We put the remedies of abandoned in forsaken, because abandoned and forsaken are synonyms, okay? And then he makes cross-references between forsaken and delusion alone on the world. And like this, you are helped to navigate and find the exact symptom, find the symptom of your patient. You know that by limiting the number of words, for example, not saying periods, but all the time menses, not saying menstruation, but all the time menses, and by limiting the number of words used, we have a kind of repertory language, which is a standardized language, and with the goal as well to help you easily find symptoms. These are the things you probably know. The thing not everybody may know is that we have added a level onto that, which is the concepts. And there is an access, a conceptual access to synthesis from version 7 onwards. And a concept, we'll give a few examples, is like, it's a cross-reference, okay, it's like a super cross-reference, but it's a little more abstract. It's like concept, you see, an idea, concept. You can think of something and then you put in that basket everything that relates to it and becomes a concept. And these concepts are spread throughout synthesis, linking certain symptoms together to help you find, again, the symptom you would like to find. And I will clarify this with a few striking examples, I believe. A concept can be any words, and I will go to the repertory to show you exactly what I mean. So suppose you are having a pregnant woman in your practice. she's anxious, and you find the rubric anxiety in pregnancy. Perfect. But you would like to know a little better whether this is the perfect rubric or something else is existing. And you see there is this little light bulb here. This is the light bulb, the icon for the concepts. They bring ideas. This is the whole concept of the concepts is to give you ideas. Okay? So you just click on it and you will see here all these baskets. And one of the baskets is symptoms related to pregnancy. You see? I click on it and I go to this repertory made by Valdares Fonseca, where there is a basket of pregnancy. And when I click on this little icon, I see a number of symptoms and I can scroll through them and I see no anxiety, household matters, pregnancy, for example. No, it's more general. Company aversion. No, it's not this. And it's a kind of complaining, maybe confusion, answering, etc. And I scroll and I scroll. And at a certain moment, I have to decide. And I say, okay, I will go for complaining. And you are in a different symptom, mind complaining. So this person is anxious or is complaining. And then you are disappointed because you see only one remedy, even in the full repertory. So where you go from here, well, you just step up, you generalize the symptom and you look at complaining. Okay? Complaining, plaintive is a synonym, peevish, to help you understand the symptom. There is here a little flag, which is a note by our friend De Tinis from Argentina, which is explaining about complaining. So this may be helpful to understand, is this the symptom of the patient? Or, as I would like to do now, you may go on with the concepts, because again, here, there is the little light bulb next to complaining, and you then can go to the concepts of complaining. And we scroll a little bit, we think a little bit, where shall we go? Is it not some kind of expression of hopelessness? Complaining, anxious, hopelessness. And we jump to another basket, from the symptom in the repertory to the concept in the concept repertory, which contains only baskets of symptoms. And then we see in this basket, in this concept of symptoms, we see the symptom, everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong. Yeah, this is her anxiety. This is her complaining. This is the more precise thing. Nothing seems right, and this is why she's anxious and she's complaining, because she generalizes it. She's everything goes wrong. And so we go from the, let's say, easy to find symptom, anxiety, pregnancy during, concept, symptom, etc., until we find exactly the delusion, everything goes wrong, with 14 remedies here. And we add it to the analysis, and we have a more precise definition for our patients. So is it clear, this way of jumping? I will give a few more examples that are maybe a little simpler. I will now show an example. Wait a minute. Going to Adonis. Here, Adonis. So alert. So you have a patient who is very alert, alive. Okay, alert, alive, watchfulness. Okay. Also, you have these kids, very alert. Okay, they come into your consultation, they grab your attention, alert. So that's the rubric you probably find. Again, you want to know if you can find another symptom because you want to do this case your way. You don't need a teacher, you need a tool. I apologize to say, I'm a teacher myself. You need the tool, and the tool is the concept. You click here, and you see there are alert, attention. No, it's not about attention. You see, it's about really alertness. It's not about agile. Yeah? Let's go into the basket alert, which was made by our friend Julian from Brazil. So he put in this basket alert a number of symptoms that can be linked to alert one way or another, and we scroll to them, and then we find again, maybe you need a dictionary at some time, but we find the symptom witty. Witty is a kind of alertness with a liveliness, with a merriness, merry, M-E-R-R-Y, not merry like to marry a partner, but merry in liveliness, witty. So, and from alert, if you think about it, which is just being watching and aware of what is happening, we go to witty, which is more like an active behavior. Alert is almost rather a state, and witty is like an action, static, dynamic. And so from the easy to find rubric alert, we go to the better rubric witty just with a few clicks and the help of the concepts. Another one, your patient has a stool like balls. Yes, okay, good. I guess you have used that rubric a number of times. But we had a friend, Bernard Blösi from Germany, who said, well, there are so many rubrics that are similar. And he took the chapter stool and divided them, all the symptoms, into a number of sections like stool, form, and shape, as you can see here. You see? Or, voila, the odor, the sensation, the temperature, etc. You see? And so his basket, the concept, form of stool, then contains all the different types of stool that are in the repertory, and you can again run through them, and suddenly you see, balls. No, it's small balls. It's like sheep dung. I hope you have some sheep nearby or ever been past sheep. Sheep dung, balls is big, sheep dung is small. So instead of using balls all the time, now you use sheep dung when it is appropriate. Okay? Then one other one is, and I'm just trying to be very practical here, is you have this patient who is telling you that they don't recognize the relatives anymore. Okay? Don't recognize relatives anymore. And you say, wow, maybe this is a beginning of the disease of Alzheimer. Okay? And if you go here in the concepts, you see, in fact, disease is Alzheimer disease, a little bit hidden by this annoying square, is in the section neurological disorders. And we go again to a basket, Alzheimer disease, all different neurological disorders are here. Myasthenia gravis, Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, neuralgia trigeminus. And this is a work I have done. And in the basket of Alzheimer disease, very interesting, you have all these symptoms, like certain gestures, laziness, weakness of memory, restlessness in the night, the speech impairment, aversion, mental exertion, etc. And you can use this concept to know other symptoms that may be interesting and that are expressed in the homeopathic language, I may say, and that belong to the Alzheimer disease. So this is another way to use the concepts, is to start from a rubric in the repertory and just to jump back to the concept. Just one other thing I would like to show on this. The rubric is existing, of course, and look, there is a little icon here behind the globe icon. The globe icon means that it links to a website, and I can click here on the website, and we've done it for a number of diseases or symptoms. This is the Alzheimer's disease explanation of the Mayo Clinic. Okay, so you know about the symptoms, the diagnosis, etc., the classical treatment plan, etc., etc. So it's also a service, let's say, to know more about your repertoire. Or if you have a symptom that is annoying because it is ennui, and ennui is like a symptom you don't know. Also, for some of these symptoms, we have created a link to website. Ennui, you go here to the Radio Opus website, where this is free for everybody to visit, where you see that this is a synonym of listlessness, dissatisfaction arising from a lack of occupation. And then you have synonyms here, the rubric, some materia medica explanations, some here, some dictionary, encyclopedic explanations, differentiation with depression, etc. And so you know a lot more about ennui and whether you would like to use this rubric, yes or no. This is about the diseases. One other, and you hear that I'm quite enthusiastic about this work that was done by a whole number of people. One other one is the work done by Mateo from Spain. And the approach he did, always the same. We create baskets, concepts of symptoms to help you find symptoms more easily or symptoms you were not thinking about. And his approach was, I want to help people prescribe first aid in first aid. And so he made a concept repertoire with first aid manual. Okay, and so the main situations of first aid are all mentioned here: altitude, injury, overexertion, asphyxia, electroshock, burns, bites, etc. Okay. So let's take bites here. Look. So of course you can go to skin here, and then you see, just let me move down. You see here, and skin, you see immediately stings of insects is existing. You may know the rubric already, okay? Or if the sting is in the insects, in the face, I'm sorry, know that the rubric there is in face swelling. Very helpful. Or if it's in the mouse, is there a symptom related to stings of insects in the mouse? Yes, swelling of the tongue is there. Or even in the eye, erysipelatous inflammation after the bite of an insect. So you see how quickly, you just know the idea. I have been bitten by a fly, a poisonous fly. You don't know the exact names in English of these flies that are very, poisonous, in fact, not just normal flies. And you have them all together by chapter. Burns rectum. Burns rectum here, you see? Diarrhea after burns. Did you know the symptom exists? So he grouped all these symptoms together in concepts. And then the last one, and this is one of the most interesting ones, is that I would like to show you another work of Fonseca. How am I going to do that? Let me just go here. So this is a concept repertoire here, Fonseca. Wait a minute. Yeah. So he did many things. I'll just give one example. The rest is for you to explore and to make discoveries. Because in the end, this is what I would like to say. The real teachers help you to practice your way. Okay? And so this is an example. He created analogical groups. And these analogical groups, they are divided in 3. Symptoms related to the environment, related to himself, and related to others. Now I will give an example of symptoms related to himself. So you have, the setup is this. You have a patient and he has some kind of feeling, some kind of idea about himself, and you don't know which symptom to use. So it's as vague as this. Patient comes in, is frustrated, unhappy, and he says you a few examples, etc., etc. You don't know which symptom to use. The only thing, or the first thing you know, is that it's a problem related to himself. Okay, it's about the way the patient looks at himself. So you open the basket related to himself, and then you have sub-baskets. What is it? Is it about sexuality? Is it about religion? You have a number of possibilities. Or is it about discontentment? In this case, we'll say it is about discontentment. And then we go again down there, and we say, is it a negative attitude? Yes, it's a negative attitude. It's a pessimistic contentment, not an indifference, but a pessimism. And like this, we go down and down and down until we reach the basket where then exact symptoms will be found. So it's related to himself, discontent, negative, pessimist, okay? And then we see here the symptoms under pessimism. You see, despair, thinks everything is lost, always discontented, unpleasant fancies, etc. Grief, hunting for something to grieve oneself. Maybe this is these people who the word is, I think, wail in sorrow. They look for sorrow almost, and you found the exact rubric once again because of using concepts. Okay. So these slides are just repeating everything I have been saying to you. This is the summary. Practice your way, use the repertory your way, analyze the case your way, study the new remedies if you like or if you don't like. You have all the flexibility. If you choose them, you have all the information to know whether this remedy is proved well enough, substantiated well enough, and find the symptoms your way. And now we have 15 minutes left that I would like to speak about families, which is one of the main big features of Synthesis Adonis, because, yes, Birgitta?
I just wanted, I have a question. I don't know if, if you come, if you go into search or anything, but sometimes when you compare remedies, or if you want to know more about a little remedy, you might go into the analyzing a window, and you can choose the in a remedy to know what's strong in the remedy by choosing just the rubrics where it's shown the 3 and 4 grades.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
The extraction, we could spend like I apologize to say, but almost one session, an hour session, to show you all the different ways you can fine tune and tailor make the extraction with degrees, with small rubrics, big rubrics, high degree in small rubrics, 4th degree alone, etc., etc. So many different possibilities. I have shown you just the basic one: extract a remedy in phase, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
There's a whole, how shall I say, our program shows you the easy things in the easy way, but when you want to delve into, how shall I say, more advanced ways of comparing remedies, all those features do exist indeed, yes. So let me just explain you a little bit about families. The one thing in a repertory is remedies. The next thing is that in the community, at least some people speak about families. And thereby, I don't mean to say just Jeremy Sher in his school rep, Luke Norland in his thematic repertory, then a few other authors like Shankar and Scholten, etc., in their teachings. No, even Kent and Blackie started speaking about thinking of a family because of certain symptoms, okay? Nevertheless, remedies are the only thing offered in repertories. And we felt this time had come to make a change to that. And Synthesis Adonis contains families as remedies in the same rubrics. So if there are families which are typical for fear of high places, you find them in the existing rubric fear of high places. Is it confusing? Well, we try to avoid that by adding an asterisk. You see the asterisk at the end. Aves is the Latin name for birds, just like the remedies, they're all in Latin, except when there is no Latin available. We have put the families most of the time in Latin with an asterisk, so you can easily recognize them. And this approach was the result of a lot of discussion and reflection. And one of the main advantages to put families recognizable in the same rubric as the remedies is that it underlines that this family in this rubric is as much a possibility as a remedy in that same rubric. This is the abstract introduction. Now to the concrete. This is how the rubric Desire to Kill looks like. And you see in this display, which you can choose or not choose, the families are highlighted in gray, so you quickly see them. You see the Anacardiaceae family, as well as Anacardium remedy in the same rubric, okay? Before I continue about families, I would like to say that, of course, our program, as always, has been considering the different ways to practice. It's the mantra of this lecture, different ways of practice. And one way of practice, I agree, is for sure to not work with families. And so be aware, be reassured that in Radar Opus, in Synthesis Adonis, there is a way to not highlight the families, the gray background, but even to not display the families. And at that time, when you choose to work without families in Adonis, which I understand some people may prefer, then the rubric Desire to Kill will look here with Heparioseamis, as always, the Stramonium, Staphysaga, Mercurius, Nux vomica, as always, just more remedies, more corrections, but without families, okay? So no despair. If you hate families, we've been thinking about you. Eh? Nevertheless, I would like now to explain a little bit more how the analysis can work in Radar Opus Synthesis Adonis. The thing about the families is you can just take the symptoms. Just take the symptoms you've always taken, like jealousy and kill desire, okay? And you will see in the analysis as well, as much as in the symptoms, that certain remedies with an asterisk appear, which means this is a family. Ophidia is the Latin for snakes, okay? So this is about the visuals. Now about the use. In fact, to use the families in Adonis, that's all you need to do. Because you just take the symptoms you've always taken. You interrogate the patient, make the analysis, take the symptoms you've always taken. But if a family appears like Ophidia in the first 10, I would say even first 20 remedies of your regular analysis, limit the analysis to that family and consider, give special attention to the snakes in this patient. Like lachesis here would be the remedy of special consideration. This is very short, very easy, nothing else to do but to click on the snake and say, limit my analysis to this family. However, I would like to go one step further and not just speak about this first way to take the families, but also about the second way to use the families. And for this, I will run you quickly a summary to a case so you have an idea. What we will do is work in a very classical way, take very classical, regular, normal symptoms, and then just a little tweak, which is we check the prominent family and thereby be guided to find the interesting remedy. So this is the case. It's a lady, 63 years old. I've been treating her for over 20 years, prescribed her half of the materia medica. Do you have some patients like that? Yes, of course. And she showed these symptoms, mainly mental. So there was some physical complaints, but they're not critical. This is a case where the patient is at loss with her own life. And so what shall we say? Borderline patient, whatever. And you see those symptoms, discouraged, hesitates, envy at the rich sister, doubt, too late, etc., etc. So I had given many remedies, made many repertorizations for these patients. What did I do different? Well, I took the same symptoms after reflection, but in Adonis. And here are the symptoms: slowness, always too late, also my consultations, irresolution, etc., etc. You see the symptoms here. And calcareal, sulfur, lycopodium, the biggest remedies, arsenicum, leucomica, they all come up, they were all given. So even with Adonis, I wasn't really that happy with this analysis, and I'm going to do it live again. So just a little minute, don't save. Going. Example, just a minute. Yeah, here is the case. Voila. Voila, you recognize the case. So you see the same remedies. And I said, yeah, most of the remedies I've given, Barita carbonica, pulsatilla, ignatia, I've given them all. So the idea of the family's integration in Adonis is this. Work was done by a number of people with great devotion, I can say. And if you go here to the views, you see there is a view which is saying only families. Do you see this view here? And this is the section only remedies, certain remedies, families, etc. Okay.
Yes.
And there is this line, this entry, only families. It means that you will now hide the remedies and only see the families. And what does my eye see? Baraita 28, Sirius 2 remedies 18, Calcaria 17, etc., etc. Baraita 28. I said, my God, but I have given Barita carbonica. I have given that, you see? So what shall I do? Well, I limit this analysis to the members of this family. You follow me? I click right, just click right to do something. Eh? Oh, the screen doesn't look nice. No, my little square is not allowing me to do that. Wait a little minute. Let me go back to the full repertory. How can I do it? Yeah. Wait, I will do it like this. Can I do it here? Baraita in compounds. Yes, it works. Voila. Sorry for the little square. I don't know where it comes from, but it hinders us a little bit. And so I have now limited my analysis to the Baraita compounds. You see carbonica, iodium, arsenicum, etc., etc. Baraita carbonica is the obvious number one. I've given it in all potencies, helped a bit, but not. I've given Baraita sulfurica, I've given Baraita muriatica. So I start to reflect and read about the other Baraita iodata, arsenicosum, etc. and I look at this case and at the habits of this patient, and I say, it can be Barita arsenicosa, a remedy I have not often prescribed, I must say. So because of this highlight of the family Barita, I see Barita arsenicosa in the list. And look, if I would go here and find the remedy Barita arsenicosa, it is in position 122. 122, difficult to find, you know, but just with this idea, is there a strong family in the background for my patients? I come to think about the Barita and I prescribe Barita arsenicosa. And then, this is the slide. I will run you through the follow-up. She comes back 4 weeks after beginning to take the Barita arsenicosa. And she comes with her hair cut. Her hair was always fluffy, long, and untidy. It was cut. And she says, yes, I come with a new start, because I was surprised. I never saw her, like she never went to the barber in 20 years, okay? And then she starts to say all the things, organizing, she's not coming too late. She was insisting to have a reply, relation with the sister changed. And she tells this last story, the last line, that while she was coming up to my door, the bells in the church were ringing and a butterfly was flying along with her. When I publish this case in the Lancet, I will not mention this, but I mention it to you, okay? The butterfly was flying with her to the door while the bells of the church were ringing. And she was like walking on a cloud, on air, walking on sunshine, you know the song. And she said, I feel the transformation is happening. And we know sometimes patients do tell such strange stories. And we know sometimes synchronicity and strange things happen, okay? And indeed, 10 weeks later, she comes again. She took some decisions about the trips, about sales, about babysitting, about playing piano in a railway station, even if she is not a piano player. And she says when she left, did you see I have only one bag? And she laughs because I hadn't noticed it. Less luggage. You remember? She always came with 2 luggages if she was going climb the mountains. Okay. 3 months later, she took the remedy a little more because she had some diaphragm problems. But basically, she's now started to improve and starting to become another person. And this after 20, if not more years of prescribing without Adonis, if I may say it like this. So while we wait for some questions, I hope, here is the difference of the Treasure Edition onto Adonis, all the work we have put. And yeah, I think it's over 500,000 operations, and the 230 provings have become available. Families as a remedy, I believe, is an interesting feature, at least sometimes. And so, yeah, I like to know your impressions and any questions that are there. I would be happy to reply.
Yes, I'm sure you have loads of questions. So is there something you wonder about, please write it in the chat box.
About what?
No, if they can write it, or they can come online to ask the question.
Yeah, anybody. Yeah. I will unshare my screen. Voila.
Okay, now Melinda says, wow, so interesting, and you've done it really well, you know, to show us a good way to showing it. Marie says, no questions, but I found it so interesting. Thank you. And Frederick, I know the team behind all this, and you had working with different teams around the world to accomplish all this. It is amazing. I know the work. I've followed you now for, I don't know, it must be 20 years or so. So, and being that consistent over time, just working so to make this so reliable for us homeopaths, you know.
Well, unfortunately, it's longer than 20 years I'm on the job.
Oh, is it? How long is
Very
it? How long have we been on the? How long?
We started, I think we started in 86, 87.
Okay, and it was, first of all, it was a computer program, wasn't it? It came out 92 or something?
No, it was 87.
Okay, right.
86, 87, yeah.
And was it the first book that was printed, or when was that?
The first print was in 1994.
Okay, I think, was that the, yeah, I think I have a 5th edition of the synthesis book.
Yes. Yeah. The 5th edition was the first printed, yes.
Yes. Okay, I have, let's see here. Michael says, can you also classify remedies according to miasm?
Yeah, we have been working and created the so-called miasmatic module with the Ortega family, one of the big names in miasmatic land. And so if you like, I can write it down for a next presentation to speak about the different ways miasms can be addressed in our program.
You mean you can have a webinar about it, or you mean you work with
One
it?
One topic. Yeah.
One topic, okay.
One of the topics. I mean, I apologize, but it would be a shame to try and reply to that question in 2 minutes.
Okay. So, Michael, we have lots to look forward to learn more about that. Okay, Talia, very impressive. Thank you very much. And Linda, yes, very interesting and very informational. Thank you. And I see here that Talia says, where do you buy Barita arsenicosum?
Yeah, the 2 main resources for strange remedies in Europe is Remedia in Austria, remedia.at, and Helios in England.
Yes.
And I think both carry Barita arsenicosa.
Okay. Right. And yes, and now we have difficulties getting the remedies from England, so maybe Remedia is the best place.
Yeah.
Okay, and Michael says, thank you very much, great answer and great presentation. And okay, and any more questions? Any more, something you've been thinking about?
You can ask difficult questions, annoying questions too. Very welcome.
Yeah, they are welcome too. Yeah. Okay. No, I haven't got any at the moment. So I'm just going to go back. That was all.
Okay, well.
And Marie says she likes some kind of humor as well. So thank you. And yes. Karina says, amazing work with this fantastic software, Frederick. And thank you so very much for this webinar. So it's very appreciated.
It's my big pleasure. And I would like to ask you if you can tell Birgitta if you have some ideas, topics you would like. Any next time, I can address them. Okay?
Yes. Maybe in the springtime, Frederick, somewhere later on.
Yeah. When the birds are singing in the sky.
Yeah. Okay. We have some special prizes for this webinar, and that if there are more, okay, visa det här. I will just show them in I have just a note here. So I'll just share that. See if I can, yeah. Så. De priserna som vi har för ikväll, det handlar om att om det är en klass eller grupp, eller om vi får ihop 8 stycken som Jag vet ju att många av er har redan Radar Opus, men om det är så att det är 8 stycken så kan man köpa Radar Opus för 30% rabatt. Om det är en av er så är det 20% rabatt för att ni har deltagit. Och sen är det något spännande också. Det är ju så att ni kanske har, det är inte många av er som har Radar paket 2, men paket 3, om man vill uppgradera så kan man göra det bara själva, man köper upp sig. Vi säger att det är olika motorer i de här programmen och de blir lite mer avancerade ju högre paket man har. Och då handlar det om att man kan uppgradera paket 3 om man har köpt det till paket 5 för 500 euro. Och då sparar man alltså 340. Och sen kan man uppgradera från 4 till 5 för 400 euro. Och då sparar man 200 euro. Och jag ska be Fredrik här förklara lite grann vad är det man gör. Man har ju programmet, man uppgraderar och man får en annan engine så att säga i programmet som tillåter, man får många fler funktioner. Men jag ska ändå be Fredrik att han säger några ord om det. Så Fredrik,
yes.
Would it be possible to say a few words about the different engines?
The different engines.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to show your screen or shall I show my screen?
No. I will stop sharing. Så bara säga det här är kvällens priser. Så är det någon som är intresserad av något av det här så säg gärna till då. Så, stop sharing.
Wait a minute.
Jag kan väl också säga till medan Fredrik håller på här att ni som inte har Adonis och vill ha det så kostar det 69 euro att lägga till.
So do you see my screen already?
Yes, we do.
So the information is on the website, the products, Radar Opus, engine types. You see where I am?
Yes.
Okay, engine types, and it's a long list, but maybe I just highlight something about it. So you see that you have these different engines. To the right is stronger, more features, like more clipboards, 1, 3, 6, 12 clipboards, you see, more analysis methods. And what I believe to be important is the repertory views. This is what I have explained at the beginning, gives you all the flexibility, even in one case to see more or less and, you know, have different inspiration. They come in gold and diamond engines, okay? And then the editing tools. So this means the possibility to make additions to synthesis yourself is very tailored along the engines. You see, silver, gold, diamond. So the different things you can do. But know that if a teacher wants to distribute a log file with his additions, that importing the additions from other Radar Opus users, all the engines can do except Mini, you see? But then adding symptoms, remedies, etc. is just increasingly spread along the engines. For the families here, yeah, except for Mini, you have pretty much all the features. In the patient file, also there is some limits here that you can add more information linked to one patient, more information. You can look at it here. And another important one that I have shown you is the extraction. You remember I was extracting Argentomitricum and Silicea. The Mini can extract only one remedy at a time, while the others can go compare up to 10 remedies. So I don't know if many people are, maybe students want to have Mini to start, but yeah, for the other people, I think at least more than one remedy to compare would be interesting. And voila, yeah. So the other features are present in all the engines except Mini, more or less. So this is just a rough idea, but you're welcome to look at it in detail. Eh?
Okay. Thank you, Frederick. Right. Any more questions? No. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Frederick. No. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Then.
So,
any questions, you can email us as well.
Yes, and please let me know if there's anything I should pass on to Frederick or topics for next webinar. So thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye, Sweden. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you, and nice to see you, Anna, as well, from Tanzania, and old faces as well. So Tanya here, and Gundi's here, and loads of people. So very nice to see you. And see you next time. So I say goodbye and take care. Bye. Bara svara dig här också. Du ser här. Okay. Right.